Alright, it is that time again. Welcome back to the history of Draco. This is going to be episode 2. Officially, the intro was episode 0. And this is also episode 2 of Gair. Last time on the history of Draco, I gave a brief synopsis of Count Gair Draco, the Lord of Fierce Life. This time, we're going to be going over a more in-depth dive for him. So grab your coffee and a snack. We're going to be going longer this time than last. Gair, a god by birth, was given the form of an elf. Though his god blood would be passed down the line, he was also an elf. Though no high elf or dark elf, he was what would later become to be known as a goth. Yes, exactly what you're thinking when I say goth. As the name would imply, Gair was a very pale man. His lips were ruby red and had piercing crystalline blue eyes. They gave the impression of staring straight into your soul, seeing the things you want to keep private from even those closest to you. Raven locks that hung down his back in a natural wave most would pay a fortune to obtain. Or was it natural? A trait that would become common knowledge later on in the family line. The Draco men tend to be very vain individuals. Constantine, for example, often became lost in bloodlust anytime someone would touch his hair without permission. Large and athletic, Gair stood at a massive 7 foot 6 inches, weighing 300 pounds of lean muscle and virtually no body fat. Gair was a very sought-after man, as I am sure some of you listening right now can know and can attest to. There is always something about the quote-unquote bad boys that draws women's attention. There were no shortage of women who sought his hand, after all. The most key ones being the royal princess of Tain of the mountainous kingdom of Bandavar. There was Yunasa, the empress of the continent of Corlan across the Blood Sea, and Elizabeth, goddess of darkness, daughter of Gix, god of darkness and war, and Lilith, the goddess of darkness and pain, who coincidentally is often hailed as the spider queen of the Drow Lolth in other media. Wink. But yes, she was the daughter of Gix, god of darkness and war, and Lilith, goddess of darkness and pain. Quite a high-born individual to not choose as your potential mate. With his unique origin, Gair possessed the ability to fly, teleport anywhere he has been, use fire magic. He can see the living glow, or aura, of other living beings due to his elven blood, and could forge infused weaponry with mystic properties. With the help of his father Manelmakar, he forged the legendary Dragon Master Sword. However, after a blatant misuse of its ability, the sword, which was once all-powerful and allowed the wielder to subjugate dragonkind, was broken into the 6 dragon swords, which were fused with the souls of a dragon family, and their power was downgraded to summoning and manipulating dragonkind, with a special hatred for all towards non-dragon beings. Combined with the Ring of Zeus, which was a gift from his mother, bolstering his inhuman strength further by tenfold, made Gair a force to be reckoned with. Legend states that if anyone could find a way to recombine the swords, they would remake the original dragon blade, giving the wielder absolute control over dragonkind. Which is why the family was once known as the Dragon Master's Coven. However, it was by royal decree of the Draco family that the swords remained separate. This was due in part to the realization that having that level of power was too tempting not to abuse. But the one fact that was at the forefront of this thinking was when the dragon mistress Saber Noir called out when Ariana picked it up, proclaiming her the Dragon Queen, much like the Stone of Fall from Irish mythology calls out to the one true king. The 6 swords were inhabited by the spirits of a dragon family, as I mentioned earlier, each representing one of the 6 core principles of the Draconian family line, creating the pillars of virtue all follow, and creating the Dragon Master Blades as they are known today. Galad, the Azure Dragon, the Azure Sword of Truth. Noir, the Plum Saber of Loyalty. Raka, the Red Falchion of Valor. Verdana, the Silver Katana of Integrity. Vincente, the Gold Broadsword of Respect. And Amar Mir, the Green Rapier of Discipline. Legend states that Noir will only call out to the true mate of Galad, who will only proclaim someone the Dragon King if he represents the 6 core values of the blood: truth, loyalty, valor, integrity, respect, and discipline. The most unique aspect about these swords is that they will only give use of their powers to those chosen by a Draco, but will not stay with the person if they are not meant to be the mate of the wielder of the Dragon Master Sword, Galad. Galad and Noir, as it turns out, are the only ones capable of selecting the succession of the Draco family. While they will grant use of their abilities to a non-mate to the other, it is only upon time for the succession to be chosen that Galad will pick the new ruler, which will often lead to a succession battle, as it has come to be known amongst the Draco men. Very few have succeeded in the challenge of defeating their father, because while the wielder of the Dragon Master Sword and the Black Flame Broadsword are in effect the most powerful individual of the Draco family, power comes with age with Draco men. The older you are, the more powerful you are. The older you are, the more complex the spells you can cast, and the more powerful you physically become. You would think that with this kind of blood trait, that Draco men are invincible. However, this is in fact not the case. The battle of succession is not necessarily one that is won or lost by whether or not the chosen prince or princess, as the case may be, about whether or not they can actually defeat the current monarch. It is more about proving themselves to the sword itself. The point of the battle of succession, the prospective future king or queen, as the case may be, is not formally granted access to Galad or Noir to their abilities. Throughout the course of the battle, if the prospective if the prospective prince or princess is able to win the loyalty of Galad or Noir respectively, they will have been deemed to have passed the battle of succession and won. Most royalty is a matter of it is the eldest son or eldest daughter, depending on the culture, that succeeds the ruler. In Draconian royalty, it is all about the most powerful, but not always in terms of physical strength. As you will come to learn in future episodes, not all sitting Draconian kings have been the peak of physical nature among their siblings. But before we go ahead and finish our little story for tonight, there is one little detail that you may find interesting to know. Because of Gair's betrayal of the original Dragon Blade when it was shattered into the 6 new swords. There also came with it a curse that fell upon the Draco family line. 2, as a matter of fact. One of which I will be getting into later on, referred to as the Marks of Daggeth. The one prominent one to know now has become known as the Curse of 6. Now, what that actually entails, and for any of the women members of the Draco family current listening, you already know. The Curse of 6 is passed down to each male member of the Draco family prominently, although it is also carried in the female members of the family. The Curse of 6 states that throughout the course of their reign, that the Draco sitting on the throne will have no less than 6 children. Not all of them survive. It is a sad fact, but not all of them have survived over the years. The Draco family would be far larger if that were the case. So you can imagine there are no shortage of potential candidates for the Battle of Succession. Now, I may revisit Gair at some point again in the future, because he does have a lot of interesting information to go over. For now, however, I will leave you with these current final details. Throughout the course of his reign, among the other feats mentioned in the last video, Gair created the Order of the Crimson Wing, which is a very high honor bestowed only on the most select few of fire paladins. Now, being a member of the Order of the Crimson Wing does not hold a prerequisite of being a Draco family member, although coincidentally most are. The feats that one must achieve to become a member of the Order of the Crimson Wing are very steep, as Gair has immeasurable standards. Even he won't relay them all to me. For any of you other writers out there, you know exactly what I mean about that. That being said, tune in next time when we delve into the story of Rendrig the Swift, the first successor. Until then, make sure and keep an eye out the window. You never know what could be watching you from the darkness.